Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript party, and my buddy Rhett. Here's a nut for her. I think this is a hazelnut. That's what my wife told me. It's a hazelnut. She does not like them, and that's all we have left. I noticed in the new bags that we buy our nuts at Sprouts, usually around this time of year. It's the only time they're available. Um, so, and in this year's batch, there are no hazelnuts, so that's good. So next year, because that's kind of what would happen is all the hazelnuts would sort of settle to the bottom because they're like almost perfectly round, and they have a very low friction coefficient on their shell. They're just super, super uh, un. They're smooth, very, very smooth. So they will kind of just settle to the bottom, and then next thing you know, at the end, and those are the only kinds of nuts that Rhett really doesn't like, and they're at the bottom. But you know, I think it was Pink Floyd The Wall where he said, "If you don't eat your pudding, no, if you don't eat your meat, you can't have your pudding," or something like that. Anyway, so here's our application. It's a lot of work for not a lot of results, um, but we have been basically doing a refactor or refactor slash effort to add more data and make the data easier to reason about. Basically, the flow, we've sort of been working through things, and as the application grows, little problems, things that could be improved are get better. And a lot of this is about the improving, learning what improvements are. I wonder what this is up here. It is 8:28 in the morning. It's Friday. It's 43 degrees Fahrenheit outside. I think it's going to be a high of around 60, which 60 Fahrenheit, which is pretty nice, especially like if we were in, let's say, May, at the end of May, middle of June, and it was 60 degrees, I'd be freezing out there. But it's been like in the 40s, 30s, and 40s the last couple of weeks. So now I've adapted to that, and now 60 feels like heaven outside. So, anyways, all right. So we it looks like, oh, I don't know what this is here. Extensions. One requires a restart. Git lens. It wants me to. Can I just it says I can restart to enable the updated extension. So I don't know what happens now. I don't know if it restarts the thing. So it's analyzing things, it's initializing. Yeah, I don't know exactly what is happening right now. When Visual Studio Code first came out, there was just a lot of information about it that is no longer really available, or it's stale or whatever. So it probably would have been good to have really dug in and learned the whole everything about Visual Studio Code when it first came out. I just had I've always had sort of a negative, like, if you're a JavaScript developer and you kind of came up from the 90s in JavaScript, you kind of saw Microsoft do some really awful things around JavaScript, trying to kill JavaScript. At least that's what it appeared like from the outside. And that had sort of firmly entrenched a lot of distrust for Microsoft um, throughout the sort of older developers. It is kind of weird because Microsoft is a gigantic organization, so the people that work on Visual Studio Code probably had nothing to do with that. But yeah, you know, you kind of learn. All right, so we have 19 changes, it looks like. So before I do a commit, I like to do a code commit, then a unit test commit, and then a end-to-end commit. And that end-to-end commit is what I consider a super commit, or a commit that I feel comfortable rolling back to if like something just went completely kaputs and crazy. I made a bunch of changes and I'm like, okay, just act like that never happened. That's the purpose of the super commits. So this one's simple. One of the things I really like to kind of keep in mind is like if a change is likely to trigger a unit test change. Right now I have 100% test coverage and I would like to keep it that way. So we're there. there. And the main reason I like, so we deleted a import and we added that there. Um, the reason I like that 100%, so this is where we definitely don't want that to be that. We should be able to get rid of this and then say, hey, for a given material, like I should be able to update the ThreeJS or the services that I've set up that handle three code, and I should be able to update that to return the material, the actual three material based on this ID here. So we've done stuff kind of like that at least 10 times. And we're finally kind of getting to where, or I'm finally getting where I can actually just put the words together. ST mesh. And then, oh yeah, here's another one where on line 14 there we have a three mesh, and we definitely do this. We want to get rid of that. And you notice that I did put a comment that says do not require three objects due to future import export. And that's exactly the fundamental reason why I don't want to have um, any three objects in these, any actual objects in these, because they're very difficult to, actually impossible to export and then re-import. Um, so, so I want that to go away. One of the things that um, but secondarily, and we definitely see it in this is the sure one of the surest ways um, having references to actual full-fledged objects um, within your code is a very risky way to code because the chances of a memory leak are very high, and I've been able to absolutely just demonstrate memory leaks in this code specifically because we have these references. So now, see, here's a reference to a actual um, complex object, but the thing is, or full object, full live implemented object. But the thing is this should be the only reference to that. So when I destroy this, this should go away too. If I ever find myself referencing this directly, like saying like a equals and then strender dot calculated values, and it's like not a reference that's going to die like at the end of the component life cycle or something like that, then the risks of creating a memory leak go way up. Let's see, scene, visualization. And see here, I actually just put a comment in there. But it looks like we did actually do. See, we used to have a viz component, now we have the viz component ID. So I think we built a full-blown system to deal with that. Um, that change should have, none of these changes that I've seen so far should have any effect on unit tests. I could, well, that's not true. It is possible that a unit test is mocking like an animation, and in that case, it would probably need to be tweaked. Now, when I first started this, like in a lot of jobs I've had, like for every hour you spend coding, you end up spending like 3 to 4 hours writing unit tests. Um, and that is exactly how this project was at the beginning, and now it's the other way around. I mean, it's like, yeah, I hardly have to do that. Okay, so we don't want this console log. I cannot believe how often I miss this, even at my job. I always get so embarrassed because my boss constantly during the PRs has to find, like, you can remove this debug code. It's like, damn it, Marty. Why? We. Oh, it looks like we did delete that one. And yeah, we created this, and this console log is the whole point of this thing. Um, and it only returns a true. So may require a unit test. Probably not, but it might. I know we call it So, and it's kind of one of those things where like as we grow, this thing could be covered now, but not be covered in the future. All right, so that's good. Now, I did update this to Angular 21 and Angular 21, but I'm still using Jasmine Karma on this. So, but when I created a brand new Angular 21 application, it didn't install Jasmine Karma. It installed, I believe it's called VITE, Vite. And so, like, I think when someone says, "Oh, I have an Angular 21 application," it's very difficult to know what they mean by that, because like it means something different to have upgraded to Angular 21 than to have created from Angular 21 from scratch. Um, so when you do an upgrade, it doesn't like if they were using Jasmine Karma in Angular 20, then you do your upgrade, it doesn't delete Jasmine Karma. It just I'm not saying they should. I'm just trying to sort of put words to the reality that we're operating under. All right, so now I like to kind of try to stay consistent in my commits, and I'm not always the same across my different projects. So you see, like some I say what the issue is, and then, and this is actually a new problem because I haven't really worked on a whole lot of projects that I do like commits and stuff in. So that's becoming a thing. So maybe Git lens might be a better way to. I thought the Git lens sort of showed you your history. Doesn't look like it. That's a shame. If I click on this, oh, graph. I think this graph shows you your history of. Yeah, there we go. So this is a new thing for me, and you should always be getting new things. If you're going to be a serious developer, you should always be getting new things. So I type in the video name, and then I say what kind of commit was. And it looks like this was a code commit last time, and then it ended up being a super. But this is a code commit right now, and then basically it refactors everything to use the sequence generator. And so what I need to do is I need to look at my folder to find out what the name of this video is going to be. And this is going to be 339. And it is 8:39, so we still have plenty of time. So git status, git status. Okay. So we just went over things, so everything. It all looked good. So I'm gonna say git add plus. Generally, about 50-50. Half the places I work at, you can't do a git add plus. Git add plus will stage everything, and you can't because you have like local configurations that are just supposed to be for local. So sometimes you have to be very, very careful when you add things, and then sometimes in some places, like my current job, all of our local configurations are held in their own um, local configs. So when as our application moves through the different instances, it uses the proper commits. And that is, I think, a better way to do it. Um, but it is a lot harder up front to figure to set up. Okay, so there's that. And so we wanted to do this video. So this is so the first thing we do is say git commit dash m, and then m, and then put a space and quotes. And I think in regular DOS you have to use double quotes, but I think this is PowerShell, and yeah, it's PowerShell. So I think you can do single like quotes in that. And so then it looks like I type in video in the name of it, so 339, and then I say code commit. And this probably won't end up being a super commit because I think that there'll be at least a couple of tweaks to unit tests. Um, but if there isn't, then what I'm going to do, I won't push this. I don't want to push. I only push once I get to super commit. Since I didn't push it, once it's done, I can always do a git reset uh, curly head or head curly one, and then it will undo this commit and it'll let me change it to a super commit message. That's one way to do it. And it's much less complicated if you haven't pushed the code. Once you push the code, the rules get very, very weird, and I don't really understand them. So, I mean, like we just went through a big thing at work where someone pushed code and then they wanted to revert the code, and then when they reverted the code, things got very, very strange, and everyone tried to kind of wrap their mind around what was happening. And at the end, we were like, just don't do that. That's the best we could do. Um, it's very, the rules get very, very strange once it's been pushed. Um, so, uh, and then basically, it is refactors to use the sequence generator. I mean, that's basically what we're doing. We did add this log sequence dictionary, but it's all around using the sequence. No, that's not true. This is all about adding the type to um, this stored. What do I call them? I call them. This is the service. The stored entities um, adds types, adds a type attribute to the stored entities. So types is such an overloaded word in TypeScript that it's probably adding types is very, very confusing. Would be very confusing if you're trying to read it. So now commit that. Now the next thing is npm run test. Like I said, I would neither be surprised nor would I be by either outcome, whether we get 100% coverage, whether we get a broken unit test, but then once we fix it, we have 100% coverage, whether we get some no broken unit tests and not 100%. Like none of those outcomes would really surprise me right now. And for unit tests, I have very mixed feelings about whether unit tests are worth doing or not. But I will say that like it's good to set up a time and place for everything, and unit testing is probably the best time to set aside to like just obsess about the lines of code. Yeah, it's like you kind of there's unit tests are kind of the time to sort of be a laser and obsess about like what does this line of code do? Is this the best way to do this line of code? Blah blah blah. And then end-to-end testing is the time to obsess about like, okay, how does this work? Is it working right? Does it feel right? Blah blah blah. And as a developer, you kind of have to like there's sort of two extremes. There's the extreme where you're like, oh, okay, this is all I'm thinking all about just the general functionality of this application. And then all the way on the left or left, the other extreme is I care all about the times. Okay, so we did have a failed compile. And it's of course in a unit test is what we were expecting, and it's in animation service spec 108. It's in our services entities in our animations folder in our animations. So we can hold the control button down and click on this, and it'll take us straight to there if you're using um, Visual Studio Code, maybe other things as well. So as you see, we do not have a type. We mocked these things and we do not have a type for them. So now we just need to add our type. That looks so weird to me. colon, comma. And it looks like we have another one down here. And it's crazy how much this being all the way out here just screws me up. Like it just really screws me up. I like ignored everything on the outside there and then move that there. So, and I feel like that I do that like so when it was out here, it was kind of out here. Like I ignore this because like 99 times out of 100, that is a more efficient way. But in this case, it really messed me up. Um, all right, and I notice it's when you save it changes to the spec files in this mode before it's sort of launched itself, it does not seem to actually watch, even though it says it's watching. So you really have no choice but to kill the whole thing and run it again. And that maybe like that is a huge problem. Um, that that's probably one of the biggest hangups, is particularly in a very complex system, is that Jasmine Karma just doesn't behave consistently across all the different platforms. I don't know if I could have built it too. Okay, so it looks like I screwed something up over here on line 73. Oh, same deal. Okay, type. And this is trivial. This is trivial work right now. And if we waited a month, like if I worked on other stuff and then I came back and I was just like, oh, let me go check out the unit tests, this would not be trivial. This would be very, very confusing and difficult to understand. But now it's just so simple to understand. Um, and I think that that is sort of the basis of the whole idea of um, Control C. Um, technical debt. Like I think the general like I think when you hear sort of high level people and they're talking about technical debt, they they don't realize this is what they're talking about. They're talking about like, hey, like when you first broke something, it would have taken 10 minutes to fix it and to figure it out and to notice and fix it. But then once you've if you wait a week, then it's going to take 30 minutes. And if you wait another month or two, it may take 2 hours. And then once you've um, once you've okay, so we have 100% still, so we're done with that. So this is our unit test commit. But if you wait a couple years, you may bankrupt the entire application. It may not be feasible to actually fix it. So that is like it is a debt with a very high interest rate. And the interest rate on your debt, different debts is different. So there's some technical debt items that like you could wait 5 years and it's going to be just as hard to fix today as it was in 5 years as it is today. And then there's other things that would take 2 minutes today that are going to take hours and hours and hours. May not even possible to fix in a couple years. So I think that's what they're talking about when they say technical debt, but I don't think they realize that's what they're talking about. So this is our unit test commit for video 339. So in this scenario, the video is seems to be the most valuable piece of information the way we're doing this because it's right at the front there. But English, generally, it's the other way around. Um, the last thing is, and that is exactly what is most important here, that this is for adding a type attribute to the stored entities. The next most important thing is this just for unit tests, and then the video was the first uh, piece of information. But so npm run Cypress open. Now this will open the unit, the end-to-end tests. Now I could have said npm run Cypress run, which I colon run, which I really like the way that sounds, but probably would not. I mean, I just am never happy with that. Like, oh, I really can't actually now because I do have one unit test that fails, um, or one end-to-end test that fails, and it's a expected failure, and that's while we're waiting. That's basically what happens is if you hit add and then you change views, update, and then you resize. So you notice that like it looks fine, but it does actually tell you that it's wrong. Like the the aspect ratio should be 1.28, but for some reason it calculated 1.06 and the actual is 1.06. So it is not quite square and it's supposed to be a perfect square. Um, but um, but you can't really see it. The human eye just misses it. That's why I missed it. And see how close we are now. We're only like 0.03. Um, but boy, does it show itself in um, in the end-to-end test. I mean, it really is very, very obvious. I will actually point it out when we get there. But I do think that this is the holy grail of the thing that will get software to the next level is this end-to-end testing or web development to the next level is this end-to-end testing. I think in my mind, like I have not implemented a feature if it's not in end-to-end testing. Like that's when the feature exists. The feature did not exist because we can argue all day long over, like I can't tell you how many times we've had something working at some place that I've worked and it works, and then like it quits working and no one checks it for 3 months, and then none of us can remember how it worked. But with end-to-end testing, you do lock in that it is like now it works. So I only have a couple minutes left, but I would love to have this done today so that we can start working on removing um, the um, references to the ThreeJS objects. That's a perfect example too of sort of so these are passing of technical debt, right? Because in our code we have this. I think this is the one where it breaks. It might be update. Um, in our code, I mean, when I first built this out, it would have taken zero time to, or it would have taken just a couple minutes. So yeah, here's the thing that's broken. And as you can see, it's very obvious because the calculated aspect ratio was 3, which is the width over the height, but it should be 1.24. And so now this thing is all squeezed in the middle there. Um, and that's just because the um, Cypress can move through this stuff so much faster than me. Yeah, see, this is the 3. This is, and then when it did the update, it quickly moved it to the lower part, and so then it was like it didn't draw it properly. Aspect ratio alone is like I could do a whole hour video on aspect ratio, um, and that is one of the reasons why. So this is done. So that is one of the reasons why 3JS is such a difficult thing to work in, and it's because because like the concepts, even once you get all the code working and everything, are very, very complex. All right, so what I want to do is do get reset head. I think it's all, oh, that's nice. And then I think we do this little squiggly thing and 1. And I believe what this will do is undo the last commit, but it will leave it staged. leave everything that was in that commit staged. Okay, so now I'm just going to hit the up button, which is called the DOS key, and I'm going to make this unit test, and then I'm going to put in quotes. And I can't remember how that. Let's look at this thing. Okay, I put it in brackets actually. And I say super, and then I hit enter. And that's just kind of what I'm doing. I'm not saying that's, did it not stage it? I guess it did not stage it. I guess it left it as changed. Sometimes when you go back, it leaves them as staged, and sometimes it leaves them as, uh, sometimes it makes them completely unstaged and just a change. And then git push. And now that latest one is out there. So we have this super commit, and this is where we want to be tomorrow. Let's see what we have in here. F12. I'll start looking at trying to deal with these things. This mesh, I believe it's just mesh. This guy, make this where it's a lookup in the 3 thing, and I believe material is the other one, if I remember correctly. So start making that to where they're more like this renderer up here, where they don't have any references to objects. Um, and I've gone over and over and over again why exactly I want to get rid of that, and there's a couple of reasons. One for export, one for memory leaks. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.